If you want to build financial models like an analyst from the best hedge funds in the world, this video series is for you. Today, I'll walk you through a two-question framework for modeling revenue, or the so-called revenue build, which is undeniably one of the most important parts of the model. The revenue build is often where hedge fund analysts tend to find the highest number of variant views and generate high-quality stock ideas. This is because, one, revenue has a major impact on EPS and valuation. For example, even just 1 or 2 percentage points differences in revenue growth for just 2 to 3 years leads to very large EPS and valuation deltas, especially in growth or operating leverage businesses. The second reason is that revenue and its drivers are generally researchable and highly observable through data and channel checks by analysts and other market participants. So it's easier to identify the so-called inflections or changes in revenue. This is why you see so many stocks move on changes in revenue growth expectations. It makes breaking down revenue into its core drivers even more critical than ever, which is ultimately the goal of the revenue build. So how do you go about building revenue? Here's a two-question framework. Firstly, how does the company grow its revenue over time? Fundamentally, how does the business make money? Typically, the revenue build is a function of the total number of units sold and the price per each unit. This means that the company grows its revenue by selling more units of a given product or by charging a higher price. Secondly, how do you break down revenue into its core drivers? When it comes down to core drivers, you want a balance between granularity and researchability. There's so many people who get overly granular, or just to show off they just have 1,000 line items in their model. But what's the point of being granular if you can make accurate forecasts? Because at the end of the day, you care about the future and being able to project or forecast the core drivers of the business. Let's look at some examples. If we look at modeling Apple's iPhone revenue, it will be the number of units or iPhones sold times the average selling price of an iPhone. This answers the first question of our framework. How does Apple grow its revenue over time? By selling more iPhones or by increasing the average price of an iPhone? Now on to our second question. Are these drivers researchable and predictable? Yes, they are, at least directionally. You can track inventory, aspects of the supply chain, understanding the pricing and promotions across Apple's websites, US and internationally. But the revenue build is not always that straightforward. If we look at a classic retailer like Walmart, Target, ULTA Beauty, or Home Depot, it can get quite nuanced. How does a retailer grow its revenue over time? Either by opening more stores or by increasing the sales within each existing store. Most existing stores should fall under comps, or comparable store sales. Stores that have been open or have been operating for at least 12 months. And for those, you can track the sales and the sales breakdown on a like-for-like basis over time. But growing retailers in particular open a meaningful number of new stores each year. For those stores, it's important to separate them out based on where they are on the so-called ramp-up curve. Since newer stores might be operating at only 10 to 30% of mature productivity, while other stores are already at 60 to 80% of productivity. In this case, tracking sales per square foot over time can help us accurately assess how quickly new stores are ramping towards mature productivity. So the revenue built for a retailer will look something different. So retailer revenue is the sum of sales from mature stores driven by comps and the contribution of sales from new store openings adjusted for where they are on the ramp-up curve towards mature productivity. Or a very high-level simple summary would be something like the following. Where mature stores grow via comps and new stores contribute to sales at a discount based on how far along they are in their ramp towards mature productivity. By having this revenue granularity in your model, you can drive a lot of variant views over time and specifically be able to tell what's changing about the business and, most importantly, attribute the change to specific drivers of the business. For example, promotions at existing stores or sales growth from new stores traffic. So if you're modeling revenue, make sure you answer two questions. One, how does the company grow its revenue over time? And two, can I break down or have I broken down revenue into core drivers that are granular, but also observable and predictable? If the answer to those two questions is yes, then you're in a great spot.